Previously on the series. My name is James. One day I stopped by a plant market and accidentally came across a strange seller named Dave. He sold me a few seeds along with some special fertilizer. As it turned out, those seeds grew into extraordinary plants, a sunflower and a pea shooter. I kept taking care of them, and one night those plants actually saved me from real zombies. That's when I realized my adventures were only just beginning. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. The night was coming to an end, but apparently nobody had told the zombies. My fire peashooter kept working non-stop. It fired with the confidence of something that had been waiting its entire life for a night shift guarding a private house. Each blazing shot flew across the lawn, turning another zombie into a problem that no longer required my attention. Conehead zombies still tried to act like they had a plan. Buckethead zombies lasted longer and looked like they'd stopped by a garage beforehand to pick up a little extra confidence. But the fire peashooter meant business. It didn't argue, it didn't panic, it didn't ask questions, it just kept firing. I unfolded the note again. I needed to figure out how to get to the address Dave had written down. After all, he'd found my house by helicopter. So staying here clearly wasn't safe, which meant one thing: I'd have to leave. While I was thinking, the darkness began to fade. First, the sky turned gray, then a faint glow of dawn appeared along the rooftops. The fiery shots were no longer the only source of light. The zombies kept coming, but with less confidence now, as if their motivation was fading along with the night. A few more shots, and the final wave collapsed right in front of the fence. And then, silence. Real silence. The kind where you can hear water dripping somewhere, leaves rustling, and your brain finally asking the most important question of the morning. How am I supposed to clean all this up? I looked at the lawn. Zombie bodies were scattered across the grass, crushed cones, dented buckets. My yard looked like an extremely aggressive road workers parade had marched through and then somehow lost to a salad. The pea shooter stood still, lightly smoking after the fight. The sunflower was smiling like it was just another normal morning. I looked at them and said out loud, "Great job, really. Now we just have a small cleanup problem." The pea shooter didn't react. The sunflower smiled even wider. Apparently, cleaning wasn't part of their job description. Fine, I'll deal with that later. Right now, something else mattered. I need to get to Dave. There was no time to hesitate. I went inside and started packing my backpack for the road. Water, essential. Food, essential. Dave's note? Absolutely. Gloves, in case I had to plant something dangerous. Flashlight, after last night, I no longer trusted the dark. I wanted to take more supplies, but then I looked at the backpack and realized if it got too heavy, the zombies wouldn't even need to chase me. I'd stop after 3 blocks and politely ask them to wait while I caught my breath. So I packed only the essentials. Then I stepped outside. My plants were still standing on the lawn. The sunflower looked energized, fresh, and way too pleased with itself, probably because it handled the first night of the apocalypse better than I handle a regular Monday. The fire peashooter stood nearby, calm and intimidating. It still radiated a faint warmth. I looked at it and said, "You're staying here. Guard the house. If anything steps onto the lawn, well, you know what to do." Then I looked at my transportation, a bicycle. Yes, a bicycle.
Not a car, not a motorcycle, not an armored van labeled anti-zombie unit, just a regular bike. Because I don't have a car. I picked it up, checked the wheels, put on my backpack, and gave the house one last look. All right, I said to myself, let's go meet the guy who might actually know how to survive the end of the world. And hopefully he's got a proper guide, preferably with pictures. Behind me were the house, the sunflower, the pea shooter, and a lawn that needed cleaning, repairs, and possibly psychological support. Ahead of me was Dave's address, and a city that had clearly stopped being safe.
I rode down the street trying to convince myself the worst had already happened during the night. I really wanted to believe that zombies disappear during the day, or hide, or power down, or at least take breaks. You know, like normal monsters. Scare people at night, rest in the morning. But it quickly became clear these guys don't follow any kind of schedule. The first zombie I saw was at a neighbor's house. It stood at the door, knocking on it over and over. Not like someone who forgot their keys, more like a creature that doesn't understand what a door is, but is very curious about what's on the other side. A bit farther down, 2 more were trying to open a window. One just kept pulling on the frame. The other was headbutting the glass, and judging by his persistence, his head was the only tool he truly trusted.
Yesterday, everything was happening at my house, and that was already terrifying. But now I could see it wasn't just my problem. Zombies were everywhere, at every house, at every door, at every window. I really hoped that people inside had locked up, hidden, and resisted the urge to ask, "Who's there?" I kept riding, trying to stay in the middle of the road. The zombies didn't notice me right away. Maybe bicycles weren't on their standard threat list. Or maybe they were just slow thinkers. But then one turned its head. Then another. Then a third. And suddenly, I was the main course, with wheels. Up ahead, I spotted a police car. Hope sparked inside me. Finally, grown adults with weapons, authority, and hopefully a plan. A police officer stood next to the car, holding a pistol. A zombie was slowly walking toward him. The officer shouted for it to stop. It didn't. He fired. The zombie jerked, but kept walking. Another shot, no effect. Another, still coming. The officer seemed to figure something out. His conclusion was simple and practical. He got into the car, made a sharp turn, and drove off. I don't blame him. If I had a car, I might have done the same. But I had a bicycle. And now it was just me and the zombie that had already turned toward me. It looked at me like I was a food delivery that had just arrived. There was no going back. More zombies were already moving behind me. And this one stood right in front. I tightened my grip on the handlebars. "Well," I said, "let's see if a bicycle counts as a plant." I started pedaling, fast, then very fast, then faster than I ever had, even as a kid trying to outrun the neighbor's dog. The zombie got closer. I got closer. 1 meter, half a meter, and bam! The bike slammed into the zombie. It flew to the side, and somehow I managed to stay upright. "It works!" I shouted, even though there was no one around to appreciate my scientific breakthrough. I don't know what saved me, speed, fear, or the fact that the zombie had clearly never taken a road safety course. But I was still alive and still riding. Then the chase began. The zombies followed me, but it quickly became clear most of them were very slow. I could outrun them with almost no effort. They reached out, growled, stumbled, sometimes bumped into each other. Teamwork clearly wasn't included, even in their basic version. I started to relax a little. Big mistake. Up ahead, standing in the road, was a new zombie. It was wearing sports gear. At first, I didn't even understand the danger. Great, I thought, another slow walker. I went around it and picked up speed. A few seconds later, I heard fast footsteps behind me. I turned around and realized this one wasn't just walking. It was running like an athlete. I pushed the pedals harder. The runner zombie didn't fall behind. It moved at a terrifying speed. My legs started burning. My breathing broke apart. I knew I couldn't keep this up for long. I had to do something. I slipped one strap off, then the other, doing my best to keep control of the handlebars. The runner was right behind me now, so I threw the backpack backward. The throw was surprisingly accurate. The backpack hit the zombie right in the torso. It stumbled, tangled its legs, and the whole athletic nightmare went down hard onto the road. A minute later, I lost it, but the victory felt incomplete. I had no more supplies. Which meant now I had a bicycle, Dave's address, and a growing understanding that zombies come in different types. Very different. Regular ones, slow. Coneheads, tougher. Bucketheads, even tougher. Runners, fast. And those were just the ones I'd already seen, which meant there could be more. Dave's house wasn't far now, and at this point, I really hoped he wasn't just some weird salesman, but someone with an actual plan, because my plan ended somewhere back there, with the backpack. There it was, the address. Dave's house stood apart from the others, off to the side. And that already felt suspicious. When zombies are smashing through windows all over the city, and one house stands alone, surrounded by a lawn and a fence, it's either incredibly vulnerable or built by someone who knew in advance they'd need a defensible position. I rode up, nearly fell off my bike, and saw Dave. He was already standing at the entrance, calm, annoyed, looking like I was late, not for a zombie apocalypse, but for a regular gardening appointment. I tossed the bike aside and ran toward him without thinking. I wanted to hug him, because strangely enough, this weird guy was the reason I was still alive. He immediately started grumbling in his incomprehensible language, waving his hands, pointing at my shoes, the lawn, the sky, and then, for some reason, at my bike. Here's what I managed to understand. First, he doesn't like hugs. Second, we don't have much time. Third, apparently I parked my bike wrong, even by apocalypse standards. Good to see you too, I said. Dave snorted and motioned for me to follow him. First, he showed me the front yard. The lawn was wide, even, and fenced along the sides. Right by the house stood a row of lawnmowers. I looked at them, then at Dave, then back at the mowers. Those just for the grass? I asked. Dave gave me a look like I had just asked the dumbest question in human history. Then we went inside. The house looked exactly like you'd expect from someone who sells combat plants. Strange, slightly chaotic, and full of items you probably shouldn't touch without gloves. Jars of seeds sat on the table. Diagrams covered the walls. In the corner, there was a pot with a label I couldn't read, but for some reason, I instinctively stepped away from it. Dave led me to the backyard, and there was a pool, a real pool. The water sparkled in the sun. The day was hot. I was exhausted, sweaty, hungry, without a backpack, and my legs were starting to hate bicycles on a personal level. For a moment, I forgot about the zombies. Oh, a pool, I said. Dave snapped toward me and raised a finger. Forbidden. I understood without translation. Hey, I was just looking. Apparently, in his world, a pool isn't for relaxing. It's just another defensive zone. Then, Dave led me up to the roof. We climbed the ladder, and the whole time I kept thinking, why do we need the roof? The answer came quickly. Dave started pointing at nearby structures, at the gutters, at the edge of the roof. then mimed something falling from above. And that's when it hit me. Zombies can get up here too. From the roof. Great.
Now my list of fears officially included threats from above. While Dave kept explaining, something strange happened. I started understanding him. Not completely, not every word, but the general meaning began to click. Like my brain finally accepted that this man was a critical source of information and decided to auto-translate. Dave was saying the zombies would attack from multiple directions. Front yard, backyard, roof.
Which meant the plants had to be different. Some shoot, others defend. Some slow enemies down, others act like traps.
I wanted to ask a million questions. But then, a sound cut through the air. I had heard it before, right before the attack at my house. Dave went silent. So did I. We looked at each other. Now I knew exactly what it meant. Another wave of zombies was coming.
This brings episode 2 to an end. Friends, I hope you enjoyed it and can't wait to see what happens next. I'd really appreciate your support with a like and subscription. Let me know in the comments which plants and zombies you'd like to see in future episodes. Have an awesome day, and now I am off to work on episode 3. See you next time.